Okay, hello everybody. My name is Katie Smith. My project is going to be on Angelina Weld Grimke. A bit of an agenda for our PowerPoint. We're going to have a biography, some work from Angelina, a works rationale, an analysis on the black finger, and then one on tenebrae. I have a little bit of additional information to share, and then of course my bibliography. Starting at the top, Angelina was born February 27th of 1880 in Boston to Sarah and Archibald Grimke. Sarah was a white woman, but Archibald was actually a biracial man. His mother was born into slavery, where she had 3 boys with her slave owner at the time. When she was 3 years old, Angelina's mom decided to leave her father and had taken Angelina with her. She didn't see him for almost 4 years, and then in 1887, she was returned to him, where she remained throughout the rest of her time at school. After she had finished her school, Grimke went on to teach English at many African American schools, one including the infamous Dunbar High, as well as Armstrong Manual Training School. During this time, Angelina actually extended her studies into night classes at Harvard. In the early 1900s, Grimke began expressing herself through writing, the writing that we know now, whether this be in the form of poem, articles, or plays. She remained doing so and remained with her father until his death in 1930. Grimke then moved to Harlem towards the end of the Harlem Renaissance and then thereafter, where she remained pretty much to herself until she died at the age of 78 in 1958. Here are some of the work from Angelina Weld Grimke. Her possibly most popular piece of work is a play that she wrote in 1916 called Rachel. There are multiple poems here that I listed. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I would definitely say to check out At April, The Eyes of My Regret, Hushed by the Hands of Sleep, and Little Gray Dreams. The reasoning behind Grimke's work was actually focused a lot about the injustices of being an African American in her lifetime and before. She also did specifically point out sometimes during the Harlem Renaissance that she spoke of, there were things she focused on like lynching and just other forms of racial injustices at the time. Not all of her work though was sad or depressing or emotion invoking. She did write to express her feelings of wanting and love and just kind of how she felt and viewed things in nature. The Black Finger, Angelina Weld Grimke. I have just seen a most beautiful thing, slim and still, against a gold sky, a straight black cypress, sensitive, exquisite, a black finger pointing upwards. Why, beautiful still finger, are you black? And why are you pointing upwards? For me, the time of the Harlem Renaissance was definitely a time where African Americans were just rediscovering and re-seeing that beauty in themselves after the attempted washout during slavery and, all the times after and just even leading up until Grimke mentions in the very first line of The Black Finger, I have just seen a most beautiful thing. For me, that is just straight off the bat. We know right away that she sees something so beautiful, and that is an African American person. To me, again, there's something powerful about the vision of an African American just standing strong with their arm up. This is used in different kind of forms of just pride, of how to, indicate strong African American presence. And to me, pointing upwards towards heaven is really just another symbol of hope. And it just indicates that there is positive and new things coming for the culture. Now we have Tenebrae by Angelina Weld Grimke. There is a tree by day that at night has a shadow. A hand huge and black, with fingers long and black, all through the dark, against the white man's house. In the little wind, the black hand plucks and plucks at the bricks. The bricks are the color of blood and very small. Is it a black hand or is it a shadow? At the time when the poem was written, even though slavery was technically done, there was still a lot of leftover and just harbored racism in the whites. And I think that a tree is a really big indication of that. Trees were just used in lynching for African Americans. They were used in other sorts of just torture and just forms of, you know, everything terrible. These were the same trees that the white kids would play in, and they were the same trees that were in the white man's yard. They read so differently for both parties that I think it's something to be spoken of. And then I also think that it's a reminder that whites are successful because of slaves, and that's something that throughout history is never going to change. It's kind of embedded the way that it is, and I say haunted because I think that for some people it's a haunting, but I think it's more of a realization. And the haunting kind of goes into that shadow that Grimke mentioned. The color of bricks, obviously, that just supports the amount of bloodshed that we know was a part of slavery up to, through, and including the Harlem Renaissance. A little bit of additional information. Angelina Weld Grimke was actually named after her paternal great aunt, Angelina Grimke Weld, who was a known and honored abolitionist. I do have an undated photo of her there. Her play, Rachel, that we went over, was written in 1916, is considered today a play that was not only written by an African American, but the first one to be directed and performed by an all African American cast. So that's a really cool piece of history that I feel that she holds. A little bit of not so happy information. After Grimke's mom brought her back to her dad about the age of 7, her mom left again, and then she never actually saw her after that for the rest of her life. Here's my bibliography. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that everybody had a good time, and goodbye.